4 months of blood and mud, millions trapped in a living hell. Then, on one Christmas Eve, the unthinkable happened. It's December 1914. The Great War, a conflict unimaginable in its scope and brutality, has been raging for months. Millions of men, fathers, sons, brothers and friends huddle in freezing trenches, separated by a no-man's land of death. Yet, on Christmas Eve, something extraordinary happens. In a spontaneous act of humanity, sworn enemies lay down their arms and step into the unseen. For months, Europe had been consumed by the relentless maw of war. The Western Front, a desolate landscape pockmarked with shell craters and littered with barbed wire, became a grim symbol of human struggle. Soldiers, mere boys thrown into this inferno, huddled in trenches, separated by a no-man's land, less a gap than a chasm of unimaginable horror. Christmas, a time of peace and togetherness, seemed a distant, almost mocking dream. Yet, even in the darkest of nights, a flicker of humanity can refuse to be extinguished. Deep within the hearts of these hardened men, a longing for normalcy, for connection, for a sliver of the life they had left behind, began to stir. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, an unspoken yearning for peace began to blossom in the trenches. Carols echoed across the frozen wasteland, faint and eerie in the silence between artillery barrages. Men decorated makeshift Christmas trees with tin cans and scraps of cloth. Letters from home spoke of longing, of families torn apart by the war. On Christmas Eve, the first tentative steps towards the unseen were taken. German soldiers began decorating their trenches with candles and lanterns, and singing carols and patriotic songs. In response, British troops sang carols, their voices rising above the rumble of distant gunfire. Then, the unthinkable happened. A German soldier emerged from his trench, unarmed, and walked towards the British lines. He was met with cautious curiosity, not bullets. Soon, others followed, and in a scene etched in history, men on both sides climbed out of their trenches, stepping into the no-man's land that had been a symbol of death for months.
Dearest Mother, I think I have seen today one of the most extraordinary sights that anyone has ever seen. About 10 o'clock this morning, I was peeping over the parapet when I saw a German waving his arms, and presently 2 of them got out of their trench and came towards ours.
The day unfolded like a dream.
We were just going to fire on them when we saw they had no rifles. So one of our men went to meet them, and in about 2 minutes, the ground between the 2 lines of trenches was swarming with men and officers of both sides, shaking hands and wishing each other a happy Christmas.
Enemies became neighbors, sharing cigarettes, exchanging stories, and singing carols in each other's languages. A football match was even played on the battlefield.
I went out myself and shook hands with several of their officers and men. From what I gathered, most of them would be glad to get home again, as we should. We have had our pipes playing all day, and everyone has been walking about in the open.
A testament to the shared humanity that transcended national borders. Letters from soldiers on both sides described the camaraderie, the feeling of being brothers for a night, not adversaries.
We had another parley with the Germans in the middle. We exchanged cigarettes and autographs, and some more people took photos. I don't know how long it will go on for. I believe it was supposed to stop yesterday, but we can hear no firing going on along the front today except a little distant shelling.
The Christmas Truce wasn't a permanent end to the war.
We are, at any rate, having another truce on New Year's Day, as the Germans want to see how the photos come out. This extraordinary truce has been quite impromptu. There was no previous arrangement. And of course, it had been decided that there was not to be any cessation of hostilities.
With military leaders on both sides of the conflict enraged by the apparent softening of attitudes, which they quickly stamped out and made it clear that anyone defying orders faced court-martial and execution. And by New Year's Day, the guns roared again. Yet the unseen scars of that night remained. It showed that even in the darkest of times, humanity can flicker, reminding us of our shared bond as fellow beings. It served as a testament to the human spirit's resilience, its capacity for hope and compassion, even in the face of unimaginable horrors. Next, we have part of an interview of Henry Williamson, who served in World War I and took part in the Christmas Truce. This was recorded in the 1960s, and the link to the full interview is in the description.
It was 60 yards from the Germans, and they could snipe right down it, and we had a lot of men sniped. I had my friend standing beside me. We were trying to work a pump, which we'd carried in at night, and it wouldn't work. And suddenly there was a tremendous crack, going like that. The bullet hit my friend in the front of the head and took away the back of his head. And he fell down, just slipped down. On Christmas Eve, we had a job to do in no man's land, which put the wind up everybody. That is to say, we were all quiet among ourselves. The job was to knock in these posts 18 inches into this frozen soil, and we'd be 50 yards away from the Germans, and we crept out, trying to avoid our boots ringing on the frozen ground, and expecting any moment to fall flat with the machine guns opening up, and nothing happened. And within 2 hours, we were walking about and laughing and talking, and there was nothing from the German lines. And then about 11 o'clock, I saw a Christmas tree going up on the German trenches, and there was a light. And we stood still, and we watched this, and we talked. And then a German voice began to sing a song, Heilige Nacht. And after that, somebody, come over, Tommy, come over. And they still thought it was a trap. But some of us went over at once, and they came to this barbed wire fence between us, which was 5 strands of wire, hung with empty bully beef tins, to make a rattle if they came. And very soon we were exchanging gifts.
The story of the Christmas Truce resonated far beyond the battlefields. It offered a glimmer of hope in a world consumed by war. It reminded people that peace was possible and that even the most entrenched hatred could be overcome by understanding and shared humanity. It continues to inspire us today, a testament to the unseen possibilities that can bloom even in the most barren ground. The war continued for almost 4 more years, resulting in the deaths of around 9 million military personnel. The Christmas Truce of 1914 remains a beacon in the dark history of World War I. It is a reminder that even in the depths of conflict, the unseen forces of humanity can bridge the divide and offer a glimpse of a world where peace reigns supreme. Share this story and keep the memory alive. Let the Christmas Truce be more than a footnote in history. Let it be an inspiration for a future where peace, not war, becomes the unseen force that shapes our world. If you liked this video, then you will like the one shown on screen.